Although WGU is a good school, there are a lot of things wrong with it. I'm going to be talking about what I think are the top 7 worst things about Western Governors University. So, number 1 is the fact that there is virtually no interaction. I have been there about a year now, and I just finished my second term. And throughout that whole time, I really interacted with like no students, and I interacted with my program mentor occasionally, like once a week. That's pretty much it, though. And having been to a number of brick and mortar schools too, I will say that although the online flexibility is nice, it's really tough to miss out on that student to student interaction and to be able to just chat with professors after class. So missing out on that is kind of tough, honestly. Another thing is that there's feels like there's very little support for students. Now, obviously, if you talk to anyone from WGU in the marketing, they'll tell you, oh, like you have your mentor for support, you have student services, like, okay, cool. And those things are true in one sense. That said, though, I don't think there really is a ton of support for students throughout their degree plan, at least as opposed to brick and mortar schools. That's just my honest opinion. A third thing is that Zybooks has a lot of things going for it in terms of the interactivity, in terms of being a cool platform. That software platform itself, I think, is a good idea. However, I think the implementation of specific course materials is not that good. Sometimes I think there are slight inaccuracies with the material as well, which is really not good. So I'm not sure who's editing the Zybooks course materials for WG's programs. I have no idea. But I think doing a re-edit of some of the courses, Zybooks would be cool. And if anyone watching this goes on Reddit, you'll see a lot of mixed opinions on Zybooks, but I think the majority of people say that it's either meh or just not that great. That's a third one there. A fourth one for me is, in my opinion, I think some of the classes are sometimes pretty poorly structured. I recently took the Java frameworks class, and I felt like that was pretty poorly structured the whole way through. By the end, I ended up seeing the purpose of different things, but still it wasn't structured in an intuitive way, in my opinion. And I felt very similar about version control. I think as of today, version control was the worst class that I took in terms of structure at WGU. I think it has so much more that it needs to get improved on to be a better class. And that happens here and there. It's not a rare occurrence for me, just speaking honestly. A fifth thing that I want to mention is that test proctoring ain't it. Test proctoring is not a fun experience. And obviously it's not supposed to be fun, but not only is it not fun, I think sometimes it can be pretty frustrating. Some proctors are very chill in that they are totally cool with certain things being in the room as long as they're not turned on. Like, for example, I had a proctor who was totally fine with the fact that there was a printer on my floor, but I have other proctors who are very strict. I had one proctor who gave me a penalty because I accidentally highlighted a word, and they let me know, hey, you can't highlight. That is a violation. And I was like, oh, I totally did not mean to do that. So that not only made me feel frustrated, but at least in the moment in terms of, oh, like, wow, like I'm just trying to do this test. But it also did catch me a little mentally off guard for the rest of the exam. So that's one thing there, honestly, that the test proctoring could be better as of an experience. Number 6 is that WGU is sometimes antagonistic to students accelerating. Western governors will advertise acceleration as a big part of the draw of their program. But that said, that there are sometimes obstacles to accelerating too quickly, or even accelerating at a moderate pace. For example, sometimes it can be difficult to line up all the classes you need to when you've finished the ones that you definitely need to complete for your term. And I think people who have had a similar experience would be able to share more about that. And there's posts on that on Reddit and other places, for example, that talk about different mentors and maybe student services being a little bit, if not antagonistic, but a little bit hesitant to really encourage fast accelerating. And then my my seventh and final thing that I want to mention is that, for better or for worse, Western Governors University does not have a high prestige. It does not have a high perceived academic quality. And I think that at least the computer science program that I've been in is a good program. Not sure about the other programs, but it definitely does not have a high academic standing in terms of prestige or in terms of people thinking, oh, like, okay, this is a good school. In fact, in some circles, it's considered to be a diploma mill or like a joke school. And like I said, for computer science, I think it's actually a decent program. And now that I've gotten into UT Austin's master's program, I'm like, okay, it's at least a good stepping stone to do further computer science work. There are people who will say, oh, no one cares where you went to school. The prestige of the school doesn't matter. And as someone who does value learning for the sake of learning and who isn't hugely interested in prestige for prestige's sake, I sympathize with that. However, I do think there really is something to be said for the fact that perception matters, both in the workplace and in academia. So going to a good school can help just with some things. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's a realistic thing in my personal opinion. So although people will say, oh, the school you go to has no bearing, maybe that's true later on in someone's career, but starting off or going into more academic roles, the prestige and perceived academic quality of the school does matter a lot. And WGU does not score highly on that. So those are 7 things that I think, in my opinion, are the worst things about WGU. And like I said at the beginning, there are still good things about the school. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think, though. I'm happy to hear your thoughts and read what you're thinking. Thanks for watching.